In a powerful show of support for nature, nearly every government in the world united behind the CBD's sweeping biodiversity plan for life on Earth. They committed to halting the extinction of threatened animal, plant, and fungi species. And in an historic first, they also committed to helping those species recover, so that the life we share our planet with can not only survive, but thrive. Making these goals a reality will take all of us working together. Reverse the Red is supporting governments, conservation experts, and communities around the world as they join forces to activate tried and tested tools and tie global efforts to local expertise. All in a coordinated effort to assess, plan, and act for wildlife. Together, we can save species from extinction. Together, we can secure our planet's future. Together, we can reverse the red.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you may be around the world. We're so excited to have you joining for this conversation about the future of Reverse the Red and the work that we're all doing together. And just like that incredible video primed up, we have the opportunity to really change the trajectory for the history, to change the way that we conserve species, that we conserve spaces. It's absolutely amazing what we can do, and we can do it together. I always like to remind us that we've never been in a better position than we are today. We have more tools, technology, availability, access, collaboration, strategies than we've ever had. So we're in the best position we can to really change the trends of the red list and see species come back. So anyways, I am excited to have you here. My name is Mike Clifford. I'm the strategy director for Reverse the Red, and we have an amazing panel and group of people that are going to be talking about a variety of different topics today as we get rolling. So I'll introduce individuals as we move throughout the webinar today. But I want to start really by talking about where Reverse the Red is, how this coalition sits within a greater framework, and where we are heading in the time in the months to come. So I'm going to share screen here quickly. And all right. So Reverse the Red, for anyone who has not known or had a chance to kind of get to know what Reverse the Red is all about. So we are a coalition that's focused on achieving the CBD Global Biodiversity Framework Target 4. So the Biodiversity Plan Target 4, which is focused on halting extinctions, reversing declines, and restoring populations for threatened species. We're a coalition that's involved in this. We're made up of governments, we're made up of NGOs, species specialist groups, botanic gardens, aquariums, zoos, natural history museums, all different organizations and groups that are committed to accelerating strategy and action to recover species. That's who's a part of this coalition. So it's open for so many to join, all aimed after this same target. And I want to give a little bit of the lay of the land. For some of you, this may be old news. You may know about it and be aware of it, but for some you may not. And it's important to understand how all these pieces and parts fit together. So we have the Convention on Biological Diversity in 2022 in Cummings, Montreal. We created the Global Biodiversity Framework. 196 countries signed on to this initiative. From there, we had multiple things that were created. So you can see at the bottom of the screen, we had the Global Species Action Plan, which was an initiative and this incredible document put out to outlay the strategic actions needed to achieve all 23 targets within the Global Biodiversity Framework. So there's overarching goals, and then we have specific targets All of these are really represented in the NBSAPs, so the National Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plans. Each of the 196 countries are asked and required to submit these plans as well as impact reports. For those who don't know, the NBSAPs are all due to be updated this October, November. And so we are already seeing some of those plans come in, and we're seeing some of those strategies being published and produced. And we may talk about that a little bit more later. So within all of this, within the Global Biodiversity Framework, within all 23 targets, then we have target 4, which is specifically focused on species. And that's where Reverse the Red gets to live, and we put our energy and our effort. So again, just to kind of, I won't read through the slide here, but this is goal A. Goal A is about achieving a tenfold reduction in the threat for threatened species by 2050. And so reducing that rate of extinction and making sure that all human-induced extinctions of known threatened species are halted. The 2050 goal is a really, really big goal, and there's a whole bunch of targets within it. So again, this is where target 4 kind of lives here. So looking at a few of these key words is halting human-induced extinction, making sure that we're aiming for recovery, significantly reducing extinction risk, maintaining genetic diversity, having in situ and ex situ conservation strategies where applicable, and managing human-wildlife interactions. So human-wildlife conflict and coexistence falls into this target as well. So hopefully, as you think about your work and your efforts and your organization's efforts, you can see where you fit within this target 4. Now, the headline indicator for these targets that all of the 196 countries are using is the Red List Index. There is a series of other supporting indicators as well, green status, KBAs. There's a number of other things that are involved in this, but the Red List is really the headline indicator. And so what that ultimately means is that these 196 countries who are trying to achieve and deliver on target 4 are looking at the Red List as their primary mechanism to track and understand how they're doing conservation efforts for species. The Global Species Action Plan, which is a byproduct of this, really breaks down target 4 into 7 strategic actions. So 4.1 is assessment, 4.2 is to develop the recovery plans, 4.3 is enacting the measures, 4.4 is maintaining ex situ breeding and propagation programs for release, 4.5 is to minimize genetic loss, 4.6 is managing human-wildlife conflict and coexistence, and 4.7 is determining factors, storytelling, influence. Again, we're going very quickly through all these different pieces and parts, but what's important to recognize is that they're all connected. All of the 196 governments who've committed to the Global Biodiversity Framework, as well as the targets, they need help, right? We all need to work together in understanding what the different roles are and the different strategic actions that we can play in support of this larger biodiversity plan. Now, one of the things that's interesting that we continue to learn in Reverse the Red is that today, a lot of different groups are all doing amazing work, but we're often doing the work disconnected or unaligned with our national governments or even the other partners in the area. For those of you who were able to chime into the World Species Congress, one of the things that was so incredible to see was all of the stories and highlights of collaboration, where you had synergies between national governments and zoos and aquariums and species specialist groups and scientists. When we see that those things are all connected and working together, we can accelerate conservation impact at an amazing rate. And that's an area that we still need to grow and need to advance as a conservation community. So looking at these frameworks and all of these tools allows us to recognize where each of us fits within this larger strategy to reverse declines of species. So what does this all mean? What does this mean for you guys and your role with it in your organization? Ultimately, this is a very simple diagram of what Reverse the Red is up to. So all of this effort exists to support countries delivering on target 4. We need to work together. We need to align. We need to share strategies. And so really Reverse the Red is working at 3 levels. We work at the global, the national, and the local species level. And so at the global level, we have all of these frameworks, tools, strategies, best practices, and finding ways to share and learn from one another. Again, the Congress was an amazing opportunity to see that, and Dr. Jenny Gray is going to talk about that just a little bit more here in a second. But an opportunity to bring in these different strategies globally. What are different countries doing? How can we learn from one another? So Reverse the Red will continue to create forums using virtual technology, using AI, all the different things that we're able to leverage to do this faster and better. We will create a forum to learn from one another. We all have different contexts, so not every solution fits in every place. But the more that we can learn from each other's successes and the more we can learn from the failures and the challenges, the faster that we can execute this effort. At the national strategy, Reverse the Red is helping to support individual countries. And so we have a lot of discussions going on right now with various countries, with governments, with national species specialist groups and centers for species survivals. We're looking at developing in-country recovery networks where we have the expertise in country to actually achieve this work. So that includes creating national level assessments, national level planning, national priorities around species efforts, and national collaboration. And so the Global Species Action Plan, those 7 key actions that have been outlined, we're looking to help support the capacity and skill of each of those strategic actions within each country. So it's a big lift. There's a lot of work to be done, but ultimately we need to see the skill and the abilities within each country advance so that we can accomplish these goals. And a big portion of that is the National Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plans. If you've been involved in creating those before, they are an amazing tool that each country and each government puts out. And there's a huge opportunity right now for us to increase the profile and the importance of specific species effort within those national biodiversity strategies. So right now, if you don't know of your national biodiversity strategy in your country yet, see if you can go find it. Some of them are readily available on websites. Some of them are a little bit more challenging to find. But it's critical that for all of our partners and all of us who are involved in species conservation, we are actively aware of what our national biodiversity plans are. And hopefully we can get to the point where we're influencing it. And again, we may hear a little bit more about that later today. And then the last is local species and local strategies. So we know that there's many efforts going on for species specifically. They're local. They may be kind of hyper targeted to a taxa or a group of species, but we want to increase and accelerate the likelihood that those plans will work. What we know right now is that many species conservation efforts that are out there are not actually targeted with impact in mind. We still measure a lot of our work by dollars in, or we measure it by number of educational campaigns. And we need to, as a community, move to where we are aiming for impact, measurable, definable impact for the species. And this is where all of these things connect. If we know what our national biodiversity strategies are, we can align the impact metrics of our individual species programs so that as we work on and see success in a species, that data and that information translates to the national level in a way that they can support it and they can use it. So each of these areas and these layers that we're working on has its own individual strategy, but Reverse the Red will continue to produce toolkits, produce best practices and strategies. We'll share stories. One of the things, if you've interacted with Reverse the Red, we are committed to showing positive success stories and telling those stories incredibly well. And so we'll continue to provide all of these things as we move forward. So maybe last thing here. So how to be a part of Reversing the Red. Again, as we started out and as the video said, we all have a role and it's critical that we work together to advance this. So the first is the Species Pledge. We'll share some amazing news, but we have over 3,750 species pledges that came out just before and through the World Species Congress, which is amazing. We want to continue to see that grow. We'd like to see as many species pledges as possible, particularly for threatened species. We know that over 40% of the known threatened species, the 44,000 plus, over 40% of those have a recognized need for urgent human action. That means that we have a lot of species that need committed effort. So we want to continue to grow that pledge. And for those of you who have committed the pledge, first off, thank you. And I want to share a little bit of where we're going to go with that. So the first is that the pledge helps us to understand who's committed to reversing declines of what species and in what countries. And that's a big piece of information that we don't have as a global community right now. The second is that when we know who is working on what, it also lets us know which threatened species don't have anybody focused on them. It kind of gives us the inverse and the ability to then start to pair organizations that can focus on those threatened species. And then the last piece of the pledge that it allows us to do is to celebrate and highlight these and increase that visibility at a national and a global scale. And so again, being able to go to a country and say, here's the 300 organizations and the 300 species that are committed to and that there's pledges to reverse declines on in your country. And we can elevate the importance of that and help to spur more action and funding and interest. The national recovery networks, we will continue to have conversations about these national recovery networks. And so we're in discussion now with a number of countries, but if you are interested in being a part of your country and your country's national recovery network, please reach out to us and connect with us. We'd love to start that conversation and get you connected with others within it. And then the last thing that you can do is tell your recovery story. One of the great pieces of news through the World Species Congress is we got so many positive stories that we probably could have done a second 24 hours. So we know that there's more stories of recovery out there, but share those, do quick videos, tag Reverse the Red will help to amplify that story. But the more that we can talk about strategic actions and strategic measurable impact, we'll continue to see the tide change in the way that we do conservation work. So then the last thing here, so the next steps for us, so you know what's coming immediately. The first is the species pledge map. So those 3,750 plus species pledges, we'll start to map those. So you can go in and you can look globally who's doing what and where, and that we can start to celebrate the success and the strategic actions that come from it. The second is that we're going to continue to grow that species pledge, as I talked about. We'll provide support for all of the organizations that have made those pledges. So continuing to provide best tools, practices, strategies, all of those different elements. We also have a new website coming, which is focused on accelerating these strategies. So again, making this a place that you can go to look and see who else is out there working on, fungi conservation, or who else has a good strategy for, avian propagation or for cycads and what they're doing there. So we'll continue to put that as a place that you can go to look for inspiration and look for best practices and roadmaps. And then an important piece is this October and November of this year will be coming out more information to be provided soon. But there's a series of really key events and forums, including COP16 in Colombia will be happening. And so we will be having a series of declarations around achieving and delivering Target 4 from various levels. So this is going to be a really big moment that you'll hear a lot more from Reverse the Red in the coming months. But this will be an opportunity to really set intention and set measurable strategic priorities globally around achieving Target 4. And then the last thing to give you a heads up on is February 7th every year is Reverse the Red Day. So we'll have that coming up again in February 7th. And stay tuned to be a part of it. Many organizations host satellite events. They host different initiatives, opportunities, and it'll be an opportunity to celebrate what movement has happened around the species pledges and the strategic actions committed to them. So those are a bit of the things that are coming. Now, obviously, a lot of this and what Reverse the Red has been doing has been focused on the World Species Congress. This was absolutely amazing, and I won't steal too much thunder here for Dr. Jenny Gray as she talks about the Congress, but all I will say is that, as I mentioned, we're in a better position than we've ever been. And the World Species Congress was an opportunity for so many to get to see the amazing work that we are all a part of around the world. And so we were honored to be a part of it. But Dr. Jenny Gray, I'd love for you to share more about the Congress, how it fit, and what we were able to achieve with it.
Thank you, Mike, and good day, everyone. It's really fantastic to be with you all today. The World Species Congress was really the first big global event that was hosted by Reverse the Red. And it allowed us to enter a global stage, and I think Mike has underplayed just how amazing it was to step onto that global arena. It was a response to an IUCN resolution that had been floating around for a while. Every time people thought, gee, it would be amazing to have a World Species Congress, just the scale of it, the cost, the trickiness of hosting something like that was almost overwhelming. And so the IUCN SSC and the World Association of Zoos and Aquariums, with other partners within Reverse the Red, had said, yeah, let's take it on, but we equally were a little worried about it. And then we learned, actually one of the good things that came out of COVID was we learned new skills. We learned that we could have virtual meetings, that we learned that there was actually engagement and affordability in shifting into an online platform. And so was born this idea of let's host a global 24 hours fully online conference. And we were committed to a couple of big principles. The first one being engagement. How do we make this easily attendable for anyone, anywhere in the world? That we really wanted a true global audience and we wanted real global content. We wanted to be respectful of people's mother tongue, to actually have people speak in a language they were really comfortable in, and encourage people to speak in different languages. And the production house that we used said it was the first time ever they hosted a conference where English was only the third language spoken, that people were encouraged to use languages. And we had live translation into 12 different languages. The AI learned through the course of the 24 hours. They were pretty terrible at the beginning and they got really good by the end. And we wanted it to be incredibly hopeful. We wanted people to see stories of other people doing incredible work and learn and become committed to join. And so it happened, and it happened with the support of donors that I really don't want to start naming them, but the donors who supported this Congress were incredible. They allowed us to make it a free registration. And in terms of that, all we asked was for people to share some information and to get involved with the mission of what we're talking about. We also worked with regional committees. We moved in 3-hour blocks around the world, and we worked with committees to find the best stories. And as Mike says, those committees just excelled. We had so many great stories. And then finally, I have to really thank Mike and Megan, who the two of them managed to pull off this incredible Congress globally. It was a vision of short talks, half pre-recorded, half live, making sure that it was coordinated and facilitated by hosts that would lead you through the sessions. And it was really engaging. And I'm hoping that many of you are going to share with us that you attended. And then my question is, how many hours did you manage to watch? I did about 13. I did 10 on the first day, slept, got up early and watched the last 3. One of my volunteers at work tells me she watched 14 straight. But by far the world record goes to Megan, who was awake for 24 hours and watched and nurtured this Congress through the full 24 hours, which is just an incredible effort. Our vision of having something that was global and affordable definitely was achieved, and just an incredible success story. We wanted to get the attention of key stakeholders, and we had that. We had everyone from CITES, IUCN, CBD, government attendees, people who we often talk to ourselves in our community. We really wanted to talk to some of these big players, and they started listening. And in fact, we've heard so many great anecdotes of how they were really unhappy that they couldn't watch the whole thing. But more about that as I get to the end of my message. We had incredible messages, starting out with the incredible Dr. Jane Goodall, who started the journey, and the IUCN president, Razan, who came online and spoke so passionately about species conservation. We saw so many species pledges, as Mike's just mentioned. That's people putting up their hand and saying, I'm going to make sure the species doesn't go extinct. And that's the first step. Once you've said that, and that's still open. So if you're on this call and you're working to save species, we'd love you to jump into the platform and register your species pledge. And then finally, this launches us towards the World Conservation Congress that's going to be held in Abu Dhabi in October next year. We'll be there as Reverse the Red. We would love you all to be there as well, where we can talk about how species are just as important as protected areas and just as important as ecosystems. So in summary, if I have to wrap up those 24 hours, thanks for that, Mike. I would say what it was engaging, inspiring, and something of joy. I found myself watching it getting really emotional at some of these stories. And if you haven't had the chance to watch it, you can, because the full 24 hours is now available on the platform. You search, and I'm sure Megan's going to put the link into the chat for you as well. But if you haven't registered, you can still register. Once you registered, you go in and ask for the on-demand session, and you can go back and watch. And I'm going to fill in the 15 hours that I haven't watched, because there's so many great, amazing stories. Mike, I think people are going to share a little bit more of what happened on that day, so I'm going to hand back to you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jenny. And yeah, I'm right with you. I mean, it was emotional. Even as I've been rewatching, I just watched the talk yesterday that literally choked me up. It's going, how amazing is that to, have heard the call of a frog out in the wild that you hadn't heard in, years and decades. I mean, just absolutely amazing. And I know I can speak for Megan and I, just as we felt honored to be a part of it. And I think to echo that, we often are in our conservation community say, if people just knew the stories, if we could just tell our stories, well, there was 24 hours of hope there and 24 hours of success and stories, and we can do this. And I think we need more and more of that. So with a little bit more kind of some of the detail on the impact, Megan, would be amazing if you could share a little bit of the reach, and then we're going to talk a bit about some of the satellite events and what momentum was generated. Megan?
Yeah, and I would just love to start some of this impact talk by just saying that almost none of these numbers include everything that happened at the satellite events. And so when we talk about 10,409 attendees representing 203 different countries and territories, that doesn't include the tens of thousands of other people that either we're watching at in-person watch parties at some of our zoo and aquarium and botanic garden partners. It doesn't include a bunch of hybrid and online events. We are tallying all of those, but this is just the number of people that joined us for that global stream. And we did have people from truly all over the place. We had this engagement of people sending in postcards of their either their view from their office, or they're working on their favorite species, or some of our notes from satellite events, and just some words of encouragement that everyone shared through this engagement on the platform to really make it seem like we were all there together as much as possible. And we had 201 different speakers representing 68 countries, and that included 168 different sessions. So we had sessions ranging from 3 minutes, like 3, 5, 7-minute, really quick, punchy success stories that were super engaging. We had a number of longer 30-minute in-depth discussions and panels as well. And so it truly was, I mean, I did watch all 24 hours, and it kind of flew by, except for the part around 3 a.m. where I was getting a little tired and needed another coffee. But there was just something different. It was a different taxa. It was a different region. It was different strategies throughout all of those 168 sessions. And throughout all of that, we had a running chat on the side of the stream, and just so many engagements there of people with encouragement, people with similar stories, people learning something. And then one other additional number here is just that we did have representatives from 16 different governments presenting on the global stream, and then a number of other governments involved, and members of those same governments involved in some of those satellite events as well. So you'll hear a little bit more about that from some of our satellite event folks. And our engagements and conversations, we had over 56,000 engagements across social media, with 171 engagements online total, including all of the news media and videos and things like that. We had at least 80 different pieces of media coverage, a number of entities who committed to species pledges, did a lot of press around their species pledges, and got some really notable engagement there. And that totals to 2.75 million estimated views across all of these conversations. And some of our impacts, you'll see some quotes from folks on the side here, which I just love. But we had over 13,000 direct actions. So you heard Mike and Jenny talk about how much we really wanted to drive action and accelerate species conservation efforts. And so our attendees took 13,000 steps to accelerate that species action. That includes, signing up for trainings and webinars like this one to learn more and really further your efforts. It also includes the over 3,000 species pledges that we are still working on counting as they continue to come in. And that also means that we've built national networks. You'll hear again about some of those satellite events that happened with a number of different partners who are collaborating maybe for the first time. And then we shared a bunch of resources, tools, strategies, successes, and a lot of our attendees made connections either with speakers or with each other in the chat. We had special discussion boards for each of the sessions as well. So there are some, and those are still up. So if you do go back into the platform, you can engage in conversations around the different sessions if you have, specific information to share there. But this is one of our favorite quotes that came in through the chat is just, thanks for the hope. One of the big impacts of the Congress is that showing that we are not alone in this, as conservation experts, as practitioners, there are over 10,000 other people working on this with us, moving in the same direction, all working to achieve that same goal. And so that piece was really hopeful for a lot of our attendees. And then I will turn it over to Mike now. We did have 96 different satellite events that were registered, and as you can see, they are all across the globe, and Mike is going to introduce some of our hosts of those satellite events.
Awesome. Megan, absolutely amazing. And I know we've said it before, but thank you so much for all you did. Your 24 hours of being awake, but all the literal months and months of work up to it. It was incredible. And seeing that impact is amazing. But I think, again, what I'll just kind of share to everybody is we have a big goal in front of us. Goal A in reversing declines of biodiversity is no small task. And there isn't a single strategy to do this. We need to work at global levels and share these stories globally. How can we achieve this? We need to work at national levels, work at local levels. And so one of the amazing things was how all these different groups took this and created their own unique version of a satellite event that meant something to them and their community. So we're going to talk through about 5 different versions, 5 different instances of satellite events to show the impact that was created and the creative ideas. And so I'd love to introduce Andrew Mooney with Dublin Zoo to be our first to talk about what you all did, and Christoph Schweitzer, who's also joining us. But if you would share a little bit about your satellite event and the impact that you saw take place.
Yeah. Firstly, just huge congratulations to both of you. It was an incredible conference. I think it was the most inspiring conference I've ever been to. And as you said, it was truly a global phenomenon, I think. So I was going to share a little bit what we did at Dublin Zoo ahead of the conference as part of our satellite event. So it was called Native Species Weekend, and it took place a little bit before the actual Congress itself. So on May 11th and 12th, we celebrated it with an in-person satellite event officially affiliated to the World Species Congress. And over those 2 days, what we wanted to do was welcome more than 20 different Irish conservation organizations and government bodies to Dublin Zoo and give them a chance to showcase what they're doing for native Irish species and their habitats. And it included a huge diversity of different presentations, from live fish displays to ethical taxidermy, like you can see here. But ultimately what it did was give visitors to Dublin Zoo the chance to engage in conservation work and opportunities to engage further beyond actually coming to the zoo and seeing the partner. So really giving them opportunities to go and actually look and find out what's happening beyond the walls of the zoo. And we actually extended this then from Monday the 13th with a schools only version of Native Species Weekend. And we kind of wrapped it all up then on the 15th of May by hosting a live in-person stream of the Congress for staff and volunteers at Dublin Zoo. And it was an incredibly successful weekend. I think the key outcomes reflect just how successful it was. So over the 2 days of the weekend, we had more than 10,000 visitors come into Dublin Zoo who could actually engage with all of these different organizations and government bodies. And the schools event on the Monday had a further 2,500 Irish school children come in and engage with these conservation organizations, which for them was far more than any of them could have even imagined. and a bigger reach than most of them would receive in a whole year. All organizations found it to be really valuable public outreach and professional networking event. And what we found afterwards in chatting to them was that it was the first time many of them had been in the same room together. So really, as a conservation networking event, it was almost more valuable than as a public outreach event as well. And we also used it then to film content for the World Species Congress itself. We had a couple of days to turn it around, so our marketing team were very busy. But we wanted to give all of the conservation organizations who were coming to us the chance to share their stories, what they're doing, and their hope for the future of conservation in Ireland. And we combined that with discussions from the Minister of State, Malcolm Noonan, to showcase what was happening at a very high level in Ireland for native species conservation efforts. So I think it was a hugely successful event. And I think based on how successful it was and the great feedback, it's now going to become an annual event. But I just want to say a huge thank you to Mike and Megan for all your help in organizing the Congress and with this event as well. Thanks. I'm not sure if Christoph wants to jump in with anything.
Yeah, Christoph, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, just wanted to highlight again the value of the networking part of that. Species conservation on Ireland can be a little bit fragmented at times. It was really brilliant to have everybody there. What we're trying to achieve with our Center for Species Survival is, to channel these local initiatives into national outcomes, really, and promote these various partners as well. And I think the World Species Congress has given us a global platform for that, for which I'm really grateful. Ireland is a small country, and it's always great to show off this conservation optimism coming from the various different projects, many of which are actually working very well.
Absolutely amazing. Yeah, I love everything you shared was so cool. I wish I could be there to have seen it all taking place in person, but getting the videos was amazing. And I love the unintended consequence of this network and the opportunity for even these conservationists to connect together. So absolutely amazing. Thank you. Fantastic work. Thank you for sharing. So to hop to a different place in the world, I'd like to introduce my friend Mirza, a part of the Indonesia National Species Specialist Group. They did an absolutely incredible thing, but I won't steal your thunder. Mirza, why don't you take it away and share what you all accomplished with your satellite event?
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, everyone. So it's my pleasure to tell you more about what we did during the satellite event. So my name is Mirza Kusriti. Good evening from Bogor, Indonesia. And I'm going to share a little bit of our PowerPoint. So the satellite event is actually conducted for 4 days, and we have 2 satellite events in Indonesia. So one is the first one is hosted by the Ministry of Forestry and Environment, and also supported by Indonesia Species Specialist Group and other multi-species organizations. And it was held in Jakarta. We have hybrid events, seminar, talk show, a storytelling booth, and also live music. And the other one, we have another the day before, we called it Biodiversitas Kini and Nanti, now and later, hosted by Belantara Foundation in Bogor. It's also a webinar and exhibition, butterfly observation and digital campaign. So in total, there's more than 7,000 attendance for the first Pekan Keanekaragaman Hayati. We have booths. There is 43 booths participated from government, private sector, and NGO. We have 10 talk show sessions, and 1 is live stream session through the First Direct, and 41 speakers, in which 12 is Indonesia Species Specialist Group members. And this is just a recap of some of the pictures for the 3 days. We started at 9 a.m. And finished around 4 p.m. And we have talk show. There's not only the government employee who work there or the NGO, but also students come into our storytelling session. And there's a lot of session that even I feel new. For instance, there's butterfly citizen science in Indonesia, and also people working on orchid in Papua, which we doesn't really heard mostly mostly we heard in Indonesia is about orangutan or the tigers or the elephant. So this is a really good opportunity for some of our members to highlight their stories. And we have a booth that people can engage and look at what the NGOs and other conservation impact organizations doing. And for the other satellite event that is hosted by Belantara Foundation, it's also streamlined to the YouTube for the Belantara Foundation and also hybrid. There is 1,541 participants from universities, government, private sector, and public. We have 18 collaborators and 58 mass media reports. And afterward, we have an additional followers account. And in recap for the publication, we send out the story through social media, mostly to Instagram and LinkedIn. And there's more than 100 digital news has reported the event. And also we have social media campaign on Instagram. So that's all what we did. So we are really glad for the opportunity to be included with the World Species Congress. And we are really happy because this is I think this is the first time that everyone's sitting together, the government, the NGOs, and the researchers from university, and also the public celebrating the success story and the positivity of conservation news. Thank you.
It is absolutely amazing. So incredible to see everything that came together. And like you were just saying at the end, just for the first time, everybody being in the room together working on it. I mean, that is so much at the heart of Reverse the Red, what the World Species Congress is about, and what it's going to take to see us actually achieve these goals globally, nationally, locally. So amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. Absolutely fantastic. Okay, so just to keep things going with more amazing efforts, I'd love to introduce Beatriz from the Cadereyta. Oh my gosh, you'll have to pronounce it for me. The Cadereyta Regional Botanical Garden. Did I completely ruin that, Beatriz?
No, not at all. Thank you very much, Mike. Welcome, welcome everybody to this moment of the session. Good morning from Mexico. My name is Beatriz Maruri Aguilar from the Cadereyta Regional Botanic Garden. This is a small garden strongly committed to the conservation of the flora of a specific region of the Chihuahuan Desert. And we were thrilled to join the World Species Congress in several ways. One of those was, of course, our satellite event. This was a small satellite event with regional impact mainly of partners of the Botanic Garden. I will tell you a little. Prior to May 15, we had the opportunity to share a campaign about the World Species Congress on the social networks of the garden through a 90-second video regarding the message of the Congress and some of the activities of the garden, and also disseminating the links so every person interested could join the Congress and also share the hashtags, of course. You can see the video in this code. And the event itself, the event's name was Plant Conservation in the Cadereyta Regional Botanic Garden, Strategies and Stories. And besides streaming on the main schedule of the Congress at the beginning and at the end of the event, we also had as a main goal to spread the message regarding the frames for plant conservation, both global and domestic ones. That's why we had the participation of an expert of the National Commission for the Knowledge and Use of Biodiversity, the CONABIO, to speak to us about the global strategy for plant conservation and the Mexican strategy and the global biodiversity framework. And then we shared tales and stories regarding successful stories of ex situ conservation examples at the Botanic Garden, of course, that reinforce the target for of the global biodiversity frame. And we encouraged an open dialogue with all the participants that came from several sources, as I will tell you. Listen mainly to their testimonials of their own endeavors pursuing biodiversity conservation, and also solving questions related to the topics of the event. but also leading the talk towards the importance of the reversing the red efforts. A program was available for everyone, so everybody taking part in the event was aware of the streaming of the global program and also the parts of our local program. You can see here some images of the speakers going into action. There was a welcome message by our director, Mr. Emiliano Sanchez, and then our expert from Conavio, Sandra Solis, who talked about the global frame and the domestic frame for flora conservation, and myself in the right, speaking about the tales of successful stories of conservation at the Botanic Garden. It was a small event with less than 30 attendees, mostly partners to the garden, and we had public entities, both from Mexico and the US, non-government and private organizations as well, staff and students from local universities and general public among our attendees. And among the main outcomes, of course, the spreading of the message of the World Species Congress was a very good one, and spreading the message and the importance of the frame for flora conservation, international and Mexican one, and a meaningful amount of connections for upcoming collaborations that took place thanks to the networking that our event provided. You can see here some aspects of that event on May 15 at the auditorium of our Botanic Garden. And well, you can see, if interested, a video clip summary that is available at the YouTube channel of the Cadereyta Regional Botanic Garden. And thank you very much. It was a pleasure for us, an honor for the garden, and congratulations to you guys and to everyone involved here and that is taking part in this effort. Good morning.
Beatriz, thank you so much. Absolutely amazing. And I would just confirm, I have seen a few of the videos that are on that QR code there. They're fantastic and worth taking a look. And I love, again, seeing some of the same themes of that connection and the opportunity. And I love what you were able to create with a focus on your regional area and having that open dialogue. So cool and so important and so needed. You know, all these different layers matter as they build on each other and network. So thank you so much for doing that and for presenting as a part of the overall Congress as well.
Thank you to you.
All right. So to jump continents here, I'd like to introduce my friend Pablo to talk from Fundación Temaiken about the incredible satellite event that you guys had and what you're able to achieve. Pablo, take it away.
Hi, everyone. My name is Pablo. I am the officer of the Center for Survival Species of Argentina. I'm going to talk about our satellite event. It was the Temaiken Foundation is the host institution of the Center of Survival Species Argentina, and this institution have an environmental education program that's named Conciencia Activa, that in English is active awareness. This initiative is called by the environmental calendar. In this case, we engage with the Day for the Biological Diversity, and in each day we invite an institution to talk about the issue about that day. In this case, we invite the Jane Goodall Institute, and we made a event of we divided this event in two parts. We made one part like talks about biodiversity, and the other was about the activities talking about the biodiversity. This initiative of active awareness, we work with the local teachers and schools, and we talk about those initiatives. First of all, we talk about the Target 4, the CBD, and the initiatives about Reverse the Red and the Centers for Survival Species. Jane Goodall Institute talk about the biodiversity, and we do an introduction about biodiversity and how they can work it in class, and with some games and different type of works. At the afternoon, we make some activities. We take took advantage about the awesome day that we have there. We have a play that we talk about the red listing and how TMICAN is working to reverse the red. It was amazing how the kids engage with it. Was difficult because it's not an easy issue, but to talk about with children, but they engage a lot with that games. And we also have a blanket to leave a message to reverse the red, and the kids wrote a lot of messages, and we put in that blanket that have a planet there, and we stick all that messages there, and then we talk about the different kinds of diversity. The total attendance was 80 local teachers and students. It was amazing because we can track all that information, because we work with these institutions, and we can view the impact that we did that day. And that's a little bit what we do that day.
Oh, fantastic. Pablo, thank you so much for it. And I absolutely love, again, what's so cool about this, I mean, we had 96 satellite events, and they were all very, very different. And so to be able to work with kids, to help educate, to inspire, to create different opportunities to connect. Again, I mean, we've said it over and over, but it's about making those connections. It's about inspiring people, allowing people to connect in meaningful ways. And we need everybody. We need all the different layers and different groups working towards this big goal. So thank you so much. Absolutely fantastic.
Thank you. And another thing, Michael, we are planning another satellite event on August. It will be more with local governments involved. This one, no, it wasn't, but the other in August it would be, and we have Shane Goddard presence in that, and it will
awesome.
Be, yeah,
perfect, awesome. Thank you. Yeah, keep us posted on it. I'm excited to hear how the next one goes. Amazing. Sure. Okay, and so good.
Yeah.
And last but not least, I'd like to introduce my friend Tiasa. Amazing, a series of satellite events actually that all went together. But again, I won't steal your thunder, Tiasa, if you'd like to share about what you all accomplished with your satellite events.
Thank you so much. Sorry, there's echo, but yeah, thank you so much, Michael, for arranging this. I'll just share my screen. Let me know if you're able to see the screen.
Looks like it's still loading here.
Yeah, it is. So in the meanwhile, let me just introduce myself. I'm Tiasa Adhia. I'm co-founder of the Fishing Cat Project, which is the world's longest running research and conservation project on a wetland cat called the Fishing Cat. And we recently started this course, Wetland Ecology, Biodiversity and Conservation, a 6 months training a course on wetlands with the IUCN SSC Freshwater Conservation Committee. And the satellite events were actually organized by the participants of the course. Looks like it's still loading up. Just let me know once you're able to see it.
Okay. I'm not able to see it yet on my end.
Yeah, I see. This does not generally happen, but
it does
some
happen
of the
once
other
in a while. It's okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to try to unshare and just restart it, see if it'll take this.
That's what I'll try to do. Thanks.
There we go. Now I've got it.
Are you able to see now?
Yes, I can see it now. Perfect.
Yeah, thanks. So Yes, this is so. Yes, like I was saying, the participants of the course Wetland Ecology, Biodiversity and Conservation arranged for the satellite events. And there were 3 thematic areas. We started off with what we called the Canvas for Conservation, which was a wetland art competition for young adults in Asia. We thought that this would give us a platform, an opportunity to highlight wetland species on this very prestigious global platform, and even give young adults in Asia a chance to highlight their talent. So in a way, it would act as a connection or as a sort of an opportunity to promote a primordial form of stewardship. And we got some amazing artwork. Just for example, this is from age categories of 10 to 12, where the theme was who lives in your backyard wetland. We want to see who lives in your backyard wetland. So send us your illustrations. And amazing pictures, and we were thrilled to see the kind of because these are also windows to their soul and mind. So this is the first position, which all of them, we got more than 150 artwork from all over Asia, and I would say most of them were brilliant, and we had to choose some winners. So and for example, that was the first position, and then second and third places went to these 2 amazing art forms. Then to a slightly older age category of 13 to 15, we gave them the theme, threats to your local wetlands and wetland species. So tell us what you see as threats. And once again, we were amazed to see the creativity coming from these young adults who are the future who are the future, who are going to take the message forward. Look at this. This is just amazing. I need to just stop and so that people can actually see. Look at this. This is amazing. This is their mind being drawn onto the canvas, and their mind speaking up for conservation, which was great to see and great to be part of. The second thematic area which we focused on was more of species-centric discussions, and we did not want these discussions to be just general discussions, but following on on the spirit of Reverse the Red, we wanted to highlight plausible conservation interventions and invite experts and stakeholders who would commit to taking part in implementing this implementing these interventions and taking pledges on our platform. And so we had 6 species centric discussions, and we have got very, very promising pledges and sort of outcomes for 3 of the species. For example, the one on the gharials, where the intervention was, can tourists or travelers who go to these places and see illegal crimes, for example, environmental crimes, can they connect with citizen science platforms and citizen advocacy platforms and bring about change? We got people who are travelers, who are tour operators, who are species experts, and together they were able to come up with a framework, and they are in the process of implementing that framework for gharials and for example, to stop illegal sand mining, which is such a big threat to the species. Next up, we also highlighted the Irrawaddy dolphin. And although the Irrawaddy dolphin is found in Chilika, which is our pride, which is Asia's pride and India's pride, because it is the largest brackish water lagoon in Asia, Irrawaddy dolphin lives there. But unfortunately, the form of tourism is not very dolphin friendly. And therefore, we not only did we invite the expert, Dr. Dipani Sutaria, whose research was inspiring enough for managers to actually integrate dolphins into the management plan of Chilika. So we invited her to this discussion, and we also invited experts who work with communities to develop dolphin-friendly tourism. And so again, this sort of led to a formation of an interaction. And going forward, these people will actually place a plan to the State Department, inviting the private companies and government agencies and enforcement agencies to actually take this plan forward. And this has actually got very good strategic points of discussion. It's going to happen, this workshop is going to happen in August, so I'll keep everybody informed. Next up was Masir, which again saw a very good outcome from this particular panel discussion on the World Species Congress, where we talked about how to conserve Masir by involving communities and creating opportunities to not only augment the livelihood of communities by introducing angling for Masir instead of hunting them out, and also introducing a monitoring program in the process. This I'm also very proud to state here that this is also going to happen, and all the stakeholders who took part are actually going to take this program forward and implement it. The others were the hairy-nosed otter and North Bend's green shank and the Crimnoconchus, which is a mollusk. The third thematic area we sort of highlighted and was for the satellite event was outside the conservation bubble. So how to involve people who are outside our world, so as to speak. And we were very, very lucky to have the Seruan Setu team with us from Malaysia. Seruan means call, and Setu means in Malaysia, in Malay, Setu means a seagrass species. So a call to action to save seagrass species, and through music. So the Seruan Setu is a musical team from Malaysia. Amazing workshop, and we saw a huge turnover of participants. Like for all our events, I think more than 500 plus participants must have been there. But that's for all of the events. So the next event was Eco Beats, which was a dance, a dance workshop where you use movements of dance to imitate wetland species. And in the process, we tried to kind of, make the link between normal general public and wetland species. There are other workshops as well, but I think I'll overshoot time. But just to run through it, we had a wetland bird identification workshop. We had a visual conservation narratives workshop. And we also had this very young artist, Samruddhi Kerkar. She actually, she's just a wonderful illustrator, very young, and she used art to augment otter conservation in her state. Please, we all have these recordings uploaded. It would be lovely to have all of you see them and get back to us with comments. And this is an overall view of the participants we had. We mostly had participants from Nepal, Malaysia, and few other Southeast Asian nations. And with that, thank you so much. This is again an illustration from Chilika, showing the gradient from freshwater to brackish water, but not from this particular Congress or satellite event. But thank you so much for giving us this platform. It was wonderful to take part, and we hope that more such events come up. Thank you so much.
Amazing, Tyson. Thank you so much. And yeah, I'm blown away by that artwork. So many incredible things, and what a creative way to engage so many different groups around this bigger idea. So thank you so much for sharing that, for helping coordinate in the team to help to generate all those ideas. So just to wrap up, as we're over time here, but Reverse the Red. So we are a coalition, and hopefully you see yourself as a part of it. We are all part of a coalition to accelerate strategic action on the behalf of species. We all need to work together. We need to do this together and create more opportunities for collaboration and creativity as we move this forward. So I just want to thank everybody, and again, remind you that we need you. We need you, your organization, your expertise, your passion, your insights. What you provide is unique. You provide something that no one else on the planet can. And so we all need one another as one big ecosystem of conservation. So keep tuned. We will continue to let you know what's coming next for Reverse the Red. As we have a lot of work to do between now and the upcoming October, November, but there'll be a lot of things that we share and see. And Megan added some chats in the link, or some links in the chat, excuse me. So we have upcoming webinars. You can always chime in where we're looking at more technical strategies. We have a series of webinars on the Global Species Action Plan strategic actions. So how do we actually implement those, both at a regional, local, and a national level? So tune in. We hope to continue to provide more and more resources and strategies and roadmaps to help accelerate strategic action. Thank you, everybody, so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day, afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you may find yourself. Thank you, everybody.